Here we will explore true facts about aquatic microorganisms. When I looked through the microscope and saw what you are seeing for the first time, the first thought that crossed my mind was that it all looked the same, but upon closer inspection, I realized my initial thoughts couldn't be further from the truth. In fact, it made me think. How different are the microorganisms found in outdoor water samples? What different features do they have, and is this specialization more or less suited for their environment? When the screen comes back into focus, you'll see amongst all of the microorganisms the first of our friends. We'll call her Rose, slowly undulating in the circled region. Rose is a nematode. No, not like the ones from SpongeBob. Nematodes, like Rose, move around by wiggling side to side like Ariana Grande, but much less stunning. They are very simple in structure, having two nerves that run down the length of the body that allow them to move in their signature fashion, and a simple gut cavity that runs the entire length of the organism. Rose and her relatives are very common in aquatic environments and come in many different sizes. While Rose was certainly interesting, there was still a vast array of microorganisms in the first water sample to examine, so I wanted to see instead which microorganisms would survive in unfavorable conditions. So I obtained another water sample from a storm drain in the retention pond by my house in southwest Houston, where my mother always told me not to go near, and left it in my hot car for 3 days, capped with no access to outside oxygen. While some of the life collected had died, amongst the few survivors was a single and very interested microorganism. We'll call her Blanche. Blanche is a Euglena, a dazzly green eukaryote. Here, Blanche is performing an exotic belly dance. She lacks a sturdy cell wall, so she can change her shape to maneuver around the conditions in her environment easily. Blanche also has a light-sensitive eye spot, shown here, called a stigma, that allows her to dodge her haters, and there are many. Blanche moves around using a giant fliggly-flaggly mechanism called a flagella, the same as the one seen here being used by this common paramecium. It moves it erratically to alter the speed and direction of its travel. Under the right lighting conditions, Blanche lights up the world like nobody else. The red glow indicates that she, unlike Rose, has many 3-disc stacked chloroplasts, making her unique in the sense that not only does she have features of animals and plants, but is entirely self-sustainable and doesn't rely on her parents for food or money. Here's Blanche moments before being subjected to a saline solution, and here she is immediately after. When I finally located Blanche, she was alive, but motionless and in a state of dormancy, waiting for favorable conditions to return, and when flushed with distilled water, came back to life quicker than my roommate at an Evanescence concert, but not back to the level of her original spunk, suggesting that her cell wall may not aid well in the deterrence of foreign matters. I then took Blanche to a confocal microscope, and with the images taken was able to make this 3D reconstruction where you can see the peapod-like shape and individually count the chloroplasts inside of her and see how they are evenly distributed and uniform. In Blanche alone, there are an estimated 70 to 90 individual chloroplasts present. Blanche's outer coat is covered in ridges, shown here in this clip from a confocal microscope, partially because she enjoys wearing her favorite pair of corduroy pants. These ridges are where the cell wall contracts and expands to alter her glorious figure and allows her to easily maneuver through her environment. They are numerous and they appear evenly distributed among the organism, with no relation to the internal placement or number of chloroplasts. The final organisms that were found, Dorothy and Sophia, were 2 species of diatom, a type of unicellular phytoplankton that has a hard outer shell composed of silica, which is believed to be a form of mechanical protection that allows them to withstand great amounts of force and physical, and in Dorothy's case, emotional distress from Sophia, as they are very strong and difficult to break. Under phase contrast microscopy, you can see how they are nearly symmetrical, and in the case of Dorothy, under fluorescence boasts 2 glowing red lines, indicating the presence of 2 rows of chloroplasts on either side of the plane of symmetry. Sophia has only 1 row right down the middle, but they function similarly, supporting oneself. Dorothy and Sophia are not flexible like Blanche, but are able to withstand harsher conditions thanks to their silica outer shell. With all of the information given, it can be determined that Dorothy and Sophia, the diatoms, with their silica shell, are by far the most suited as they are well protected and self-sustaining, followed by Blanche, the Euglena, for her ability to self-sustain, but more vulnerable to the elements, followed by Rose, who, while impressive, isn't specialized enough to withstand unfavorable conditions. In conclusion, it can be determined that the organisms with chloroplasts that were able to produce food for themselves were the most specialized and suited for their environments.